The red sky of Nareen burned like dying fire. Thick black smoke rose from broken towers and cracked domes. The air was heavy with dust and sorrow. Captain Thomas Hale, a human cargo pilot, stood near his ship, the Silver Wing, watching the alien palace in silence. He had seen war before. He had lost his wife and daughter years ago when Earth's colonies fought the alien races. But this place felt different. It was not war he saw here. It was the end of a world. A group of tall Nyrene soldiers walked toward him. Their armor shined like glass, but their faces were cold and proud. Behind them came a woman in long silver robes, her face hidden under a crystal veil. Thomas knew she was the Nyrene Queen, ruler of this dying empire. When she stopped before him, he noticed her hands shaking. In her arms, she held a small bundle wrapped in shining cloth. "You are the human called Thomas Hale?" she asked in a soft, tired voice. "Yes, Your Majesty," he said carefully. "I brought the supplies you asked for, food, medicine. You can check the—" She raised her hand. "No, I called you here for something else." Thomas frowned. He didn't understand. Then she pulled back the cloth, revealing a child, an alien girl, maybe 6 years old. Her skin was dull gray, not silver like the others. Her eyes were large and deep black, and her face looked almost human but strange in shape. "This is my daughter," the Queen said. Her voice broke a little. "She is called Nira. You must take her away from this planet." Thomas blinked. "Take her? What do you mean?" "She cannot stay here," the Queen whispered. "My people call her cursed. They say she brings shame to our blood. Her look, her body, they say she is ugly." The Queen's voice grew cold. They would rather see her dead than on the throne. Thomas stared at the child. She looked weak and frightened. Her small hand gripped the Queen's robe. He shook his head. "I'm just a trader, ma'am. I don't raise alien princesses. I have my own life." The Queen stepped closer, her silver eyes full of tears. "You are a widower, yes? You once had a daughter?" Thomas froze. How could she know that? The Queen looked down at the girl. When she was born, she said one word before she could even walk. "A name, Lena." Thomas's heart stopped. That was his daughter's name. The daughter he lost long ago in the war. He looked at Nira again. Her black eyes were staring right at him, calm and knowing. She didn't speak, but something in her gaze made him feel warmth, something he hadn't felt in years. Before he could reply, the Queen gave the child to him. The weight was light, too light like a bird. "She must live," the Queen said firmly. "She must have a life away from hate. Take her, Captain. Take her far from here. Promise me." Thomas looked at the child in his arms. "Why me?" The Queen turned away. "Because you will love her like a father." A sudden explosion shook the ground. Distant screams echoed from the city. The Queen's guard shouted that enemies had entered the palace. "Go," she ordered. "Take off now. If they find her, they will kill her." Thomas wanted to say something, but the Queen pushed him toward his ship. "Please save my child." He ran back to the Silver Wing, holding Nira close. The engines roared to life. As the ship lifted off, he saw the Queen below, standing tall, surrounded by fire and smoke. She watched the ship rise into the red sky. Then the palace walls collapsed behind her. Inside the ship, Thomas sat in the pilot's seat, shaking. The girl sat quietly beside him, staring at the stars outside the window. "What have I done?" he whispered. The ship left the planet's orbit. He checked the child's blanket. She was asleep now, breathing softly. He sighed and looked at her strange little face. She looked fragile but peaceful. For a moment he remembered how his daughter Lena used to sleep beside him during long flights. But then Nira whispered something in her sleep. The voice was soft, almost human. "Lena," she said. Thomas's blood ran cold. He turned to look at her again. She was still asleep, her lips slightly parted. Did she just... He couldn't finish the thought. He stared at the stars outside, the endless space full of unknown dangers. Who was this child really? Why did she say his daughter's name? And what was waiting for them out there beyond the dark? Thomas didn't know the answers. But one thing he did know, his quiet life was gone. As the Silver Wing moved deeper into space, a faint blue glow flickered around the child's hands, like tiny stars waking from sleep. Thomas didn't notice. But far behind them on the dying planet, an old machine came to life again, sending a signal across the galaxy. Someone, somewhere, had just found her. The small colony of Eden 4 floated under two soft yellow suns. It was a quiet farming world at the edge of human space, far from wars, politics, and aliens. People there liked peace and simple life. When Captain Thomas Hale landed his ship, the townsfolk gathered to see what he brought this time. But instead of goods, he stepped down with a small alien child wrapped in a gray blanket. Her name was Nira. The crowd fell silent. Children hid behind their mothers. Some adults frowned. One man whispered, "That's an alien." Another muttered, "Look at her eyes, unnatural." Thomas ignored them all. He carried Nira through the dusty street to his home, a quiet cabin near the green hills. He had lived alone there for years, talking only to machines and the wind. But now that lonely house had a heartbeat again. At first, Nira didn't speak much. She would sit by the window staring at the sky for hours. Her big black eyes reflected the light of the two suns. Thomas would try to make her laugh by showing her old books or by cooking pancakes, but she just watched him silently, curious yet distant. One night, he found her sitting outside under the stars. "You'll catch a cold," he said gently. She didn't move. "The stars are singing," she whispered. Thomas frowned. "Singing?" She nodded slowly. "They talk to me when everyone sleeps." He didn't know what to say. Maybe it was her imagination, or maybe aliens heard things humans couldn't. Still, he sat beside her. "Do you miss your home?" he asked. Nira looked down. "I don't remember home. Only a woman who cried." Thomas looked away. His chest hurt at those words. He knew that woman, the queen, had probably died the day he left. And yet, he had promised her to protect the girl. He took a deep breath. "Well, you're safe here, kid." That's what matters now. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, Nira began to change. She laughed softly when the house robot dropped dishes. She followed Thomas to the fields, watching him fix old machines. She liked touching the soil and watching tiny insects crawl. One morning she tried to help him with a broken solar panel. When she placed her hand on the metal, the dead lights flickered back to life. Thomas stared in surprise. "How did you do that?" She blinked, confused. "It wanted to work again. So I asked it." He smiled a little. "Machines don't just listen, Nira." But deep down he wasn't so sure. Soon the townsfolk began to talk again. Some said the alien girl cursed the soil. Others said her eyes made the crops wilt. Children would throw stones at her and run away laughing. One day Thomas found her crying behind the house. "Why don't they like me?" she asked quietly. He knelt beside her. "Because people fear what they don't understand." "Am I ugly?" she whispered. Thomas looked at her. Her uneven gray skin, her two large eyes, her thin frame. He smiled gently. "You're not ugly, Nira, you're different. And different isn't bad." She looked up at him with watery eyes. "Do you really think so?" He nodded. "I do." That night she called him father for the first time. The peace didn't last long. Strange things started to happen around the colony. Power lights flickered without reason. Cows refused to eat. Communication towers picked up faint alien signals. Thomas thought it was just a technical fault, until one night, he woke to see Nira standing by the window again, glowing faintly blue. Her eyes were open but distant. Her small hand pressed against the glass, trembling. "They found me," she whispered. Thomas jumped up. "Who found you?" She turned slowly, her voice shaking. "The dark ones. From the stars." Before he could ask more, the glow faded and she fell asleep in his arms, breathing softly. The next morning, Thomas contacted the colony commander. "Any strange ships near orbit?" he asked. The man laughed. "Relax, Hale, you're seeing ghosts." But that night the farm dogs howled at the sky. Something unseen moved above the clouds, silent and watching. Thomas checked his scanners. Nothing. No ship, no reading. But deep inside he felt it. Someone was out there. He sat beside Nira's bed, watching her sleep. Her hand still glowed faintly under the blanket, like a tiny star trapped in her palm. He brushed her hair gently. "Don't worry, kid. No one's taking you away." But far beyond the two suns of Eden 4, in the cold darkness of space, a signal pulsed again, the same signal from the dying planet of Nyrene. A voice whispered through static. "The lost heir lives. Bring her back." The wind howled through the quiet fields of Eden 4. The twin suns were gone, and the night sky was a sea of silver stars. But tonight the stars were not still, they moved. Captain Thomas Hale stood on the porch staring at the horizon. His hand rested on his old rifle, though he hadn't used it in years. Something inside him whispered that trouble was coming. For the past 3 nights, the scanners in his house had gone wild. Strange signals came and disappeared. Machines powered on without reason. And Nira, she wasn't sleeping anymore. She just sat by the window whispering to the stars again. Thomas had seen many things during the war. He had fought alien fleets, crossed broken planets, but nothing frightened him like that child's silence. He turned and saw her in the doorway. Her black eyes glowed faintly blue. "Are they close?" he asked softly. Nira nodded. "They've been searching for me. Every night they get nearer." He clenched his jaw. "Who are they?" She looked down. "Hunters. My mother sent them once to kill others like me. Now they come for me." The next day, Thomas visited the colony's command center. The officer in charge, Major Reddick, laughed when he told him the story. "Aliens looking for one girl? Come on, Hale. You've been living alone too long." But Thomas slammed a disc on the table. "Look at these readings. Orbit scans show a cloaked ship in the upper atmosphere. It's not human." Reddick frowned, studying the data. The numbers didn't lie. "Could be pirates," he muttered. "No," Thomas said coldly. "Pirates don't move like ghosts." That night the world changed. Thomas was checking his power grid when the sky split open. A silent black shape drifted above the clouds, almost invisible, like a shadow swallowing light. His scanner screamed with static. "Nira!" he shouted, running inside. She was already awake, standing in the middle of the room, her hands glowing blue. "They're here." A sudden roar shook the house. The ground cracked and a beam of light fell from the sky. Out of it stepped 3 tall figures, armored, faceless, and armed with silver blades that hummed like thunder. Thomas grabbed his rifle and fired. The shots hit one of them, but the bullet melted before it touched the armor. He cursed under his breath. "Run, Nira. Go to the ship." But the aliens moved fast. One leapt toward her. Before Thomas could shoot again, Nira raised her hand. A burst of blue energy exploded from her palm, throwing the attacker into the dirt. The light blinded Thomas for a moment. When he looked again, Nira's eyes were shining like 2 stars. He had never seen anything like it. She looked both beautiful and terrifying. They ran to the old ship, the Silver Wing. Smoke filled the air as more hunters descended from the dark clouds. Thomas powered up the engines. "Hold on, kid." But as the ship rose, a bright hook shot from the sky and wrapped around them. The controls died. The ship was being pulled upward, trapped. Nira screamed as the metal bent around her. "They want me alive," she shouted. Thomas hit the release system, but nothing worked. The ship was being dragged toward the black cruiser above the clouds. He turned to her. "Can you stop it?" She shook her head, tears in her eyes. "I don't know how." He grabbed her shoulders. "Then try." Nira closed her eyes. The air around her began to vibrate. The lights flickered. A soft hum grew louder until the whole ship glowed blue. Then everything exploded. Thomas woke up on the ground hours later. The ship was half buried in a crater. Fire flickered across the wreckage. He looked around, coughing. "Nira?" No answer. He stumbled outside. Pieces of alien armor lay scattered, melted, burned, destroyed. But there was no sign of the girl, only small footprints leading away from the crash, and then vanishing into the wind. Thomas fell to his knees. No. He hit the ground with his fist. He had failed his promise, but then his ship's broken radio crackled faintly. A small voice came through the static, weak but clear. "Father, I'm not gone." "Don't give up," Thomas froze. It was Nira's voice coming from somewhere far away. He stood, eyes burning with determination. "I'll find you, Nira. I don't care where they took you." He looked up at the stars, the same stars that had sung to her every night. Somewhere up there, his little alien daughter was alone and afraid. He placed his hand over his heart. "You're not their experiment. You're my child." Then he walked back toward the broken ship, the fire lighting his path. He had fought in wars before, but this time, the war was personal, and he was ready to fight the whole galaxy if it meant bringing her home. The sky above Eden 4 was silent again, but the silence was a lie. The farm fields burned where fire had fallen from the stars. Broken machines lay twisted in the dirt. The Silver Wing, once Thomas Hale's home, was now a grave of metal and smoke. For 3 days, Captain Hale searched through the wreckage, hoping to find even the smallest trace of her. Nira, his daughter not by blood but by heart. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard her voice through the static. Don't give up. Father, he didn't. Inside a shattered cargo container, he found something strange. A faint blue handprint burned into the metal. It glowed for a few seconds and then vanished. She had been here alive. She's alive, he whispered. And they took her. He stared up at the night sky. Somewhere among those endless stars, she was calling for him. He clenched his fists. I'm coming, kid. I promise. Thomas spent the next weeks in silence rebuilding. He dragged the remains of the Silver Wing into the hangar under his farm. Piece by piece, bolt by bolt, he worked until his hands bled. He added stronger engines, new shields, and weapons from his old war days. He even renamed the ship, the Valiant Star. At night, he slept inside the cockpit listening to the soft hum of the rebuilt engines. He wasn't a traitor anymore. He was a hunter now, a father chasing ghosts through the stars. One evening, while repairing the radar array, his scanner picked up a signal. It was weak but clear, a Nareen frequency. He played it back. Subject recovered. Destination, Zone 9 prison world. His heart pounded. Zone 9. The most dangerous part of the Outer Rim, a world of storms and broken moons where no law existed. He uploaded the coordinates. Hold on, Nira, he whispered. I'm coming. When the Valiant Star finally left orbit, the sky blazed with its engines. The colony below grew smaller and smaller until it was just a pale dot among the stars. As the stars stretched into long trails of light, Thomas felt the old thrill of space again, but this time it wasn't adventure. It was purpose. He wasn't running from his past anymore. He was running toward something. The journey wasn't easy. He crossed the vortex fields where black holes slept like silent giants. He dodged pirate ships and asteroid storms. Once, he even came across a human patrol that tried to stop him. Captain Hale, your license is expired. You're heading into restricted space, the officer warned. Thomas only replied, You'll have to shoot me down. The patrol let him go. Maybe they saw the fire in his eyes, the fire of a father who had nothing left to lose. Days turned into weeks. The deeper he went into space, the darker it became. Out here, there were no colonies, no rules, just whispers of ships that disappeared and never came back. One night, while checking the radar, Thomas heard a sound in the cockpit. A soft hum, like a child's voice humming an old tune. He froze. Nira? No one answered, but the navigation screen flickered. A new path appeared, one he hadn't set. Impossible, he murmured. The ship's lights dimmed, and a blue shimmer appeared in the co-pilot's seat. A faint glowing figure sat there, Nira's small shape like a hologram made of starlight. Her voice was gentle. You found me, Father. Thomas's eyes widened. Nira, where are you? Tell me, she smiled faintly. They keep me in a place of iron and fire, but I can see you through the stars. The image flickered, her face fading in and out. They call me Key of the Heart. They fear what I can become. What do they want from you? Thomas asked, her voice trembled. They want the weapon inside me, the one Mother hid in my blood. Then the image shattered like glass. The ship's systems screamed with warning. Thomas gripped the controls. Hang on, Nira, I don't care what you are. I'm bringing you home. When he reached the edge of Zone 9, the stars looked sick, green and twisted. The planet below was half broken, covered in lightning and black clouds. It wasn't a world. It was a wound. As he entered orbit, a transmission cut through the static. Unidentified vessel. Leave now. This is a restricted sector. Thomas didn't answer. He shut off his radio and powered up the weapons. I've come too far, he said quietly. No one stops me now. He guided the Valiant Star into the storm, lightning flashing against the hull. Somewhere below, hidden in the fire and ash, his daughter was waiting. Far beneath the planet's surface, in a dark cell, Nira sat alone. Her hands glowed faintly, chains around her wrists humming as they absorbed her energy. She looked up at the ceiling, her eyes bright with tears. Father, she whispered, I know you're coming. Outside her cell, alien guards checked their scanners. One of them frowned. Something is entering orbit. Human ship, fast, the other hissed. Then the real hunt begins. The prison world of Zone 9 was not a place for the living. Black lightning tore across the sky, striking iron towers that screamed with every storm. Rivers of dust and ash ran between endless cages, each one holding someone forgotten by the galaxy. Deep under the ground, in a cell of cold metal, a small figure sat with her knees pulled close, Nira, the lost alien princess. Her wrists were chained with glowing cuffs that hummed whenever she tried to move. The walls around her pulsed with strange energy that made her dizzy. Days passed without sunrise or sunset. There was only darkness and the sound of distant cries. She did not know how long she had been there. At first, she tried to count the hours. Then she tried to sing to herself, soft songs her human father had taught her, songs about Earth, stars, and freedom. But every time she sang, the walls seemed to listen. Sometimes she dreamed of Captain Thomas Hale, his rough hands fixing machines, his voice calling her name. She remembered Pancake's stories and the way he smiled when she said father. Those memories were her only warmth in that frozen world. One day the cell door opened. A harsh white light poured in. A tall alien woman stepped inside. Her skin was silver blue, her armor carved with sharp lines. Her eyes were cold. "So," the woman said, "the Queen's mistake still breathes." Nira looked up slowly. "Who are you?" "I am Commander Sarath," the woman said. "Your mother's loyal hunter. I brought you here for a reason." Nira frowned. "Mother, she wanted me safe." Sarath laughed, a cruel metallic sound. "Safe? No, little one. She wanted you hidden. You were born wrong. You were born with human touch in your blood. That's why you look like them. That's why she feared you." The words hit Nira like stones. "That's not true. Then why did she give you away?" Sarath asked softly. Nira couldn't answer. Her heart felt heavy. Sarath leaned closer. "Your human father will never find you. He is only flesh and fear. You are more than that. Something even the Queen doesn't understand. You are the key." She turned to leave but stopped at the door. "Soon you will remember what sleeps inside you. And when you do, no cage will hold you." Then she was gone, and the door sealed again. That night, the storms outside grew louder. The air inside Nira's cell shimmered. Her cuffs glowed brighter until they burned her skin. She pressed her hands to the cold floor and whispered, "I want to go home." The chains hummed louder. Her heart pounded in her chest. The light from her skin spread across the floor, crawling up the walls like blue fire. Then, silence. The chains fell open. Her eyes glowed brighter than lightning. Memories flashed in her mind. Her mother's tears. The day she was given away, the voice that said, "You will bring balance to two worlds." Now she understood. She wasn't just born of alien blood. Something older, something powerful lived inside her. A connection between human heart and Nirine energy. A bridge between species. She stood up, trembling but alive. The air around her rippled. Outside the prison walls, alarms screamed. Guards ran through the corridors, shouting orders. "Contain the subject. Seal the chambers!" But it was too late. Blue light erupted from the cell, tearing through the ceiling. The metal melted like ice. The whole prison shook as if the planet itself was afraid. Nira floated above the floor, her hair glowing, her small body surrounded by a soft aura. The walls twisted around her power, and she whispered only one word: "Father." Far above, in orbit, Captain Hale watched the surface through his ship's scanner. Storms covered everything, but suddenly a blue light burst through the clouds like a beacon. He leaned forward, eyes wide. "That's her." The ship's AI warned, "Energy level critical." "The surface is unstable." Thomas ignored it. "Prepare for landing." The Valiant Star dove into the storm. Fire and lightning lashed against its hull, but he didn't slow down. As the ship broke through the clouds, he saw it, a column of blue light rising from the prison complex, cutting the darkness in half. In the center of that light floated Nira, her chains falling away, her body glowing like a living star. Thomas whispered, "My God, what have they done to you?" He brought the ship down through the chaos, landing near the crumbling towers. The ground shook under his boots as he ran toward the light. Inside, Nira slowly opened her eyes. The world looked different now, clearer, sharper. Every sound echoed inside her head. She could feel the heartbeat of the planet, the fear of the soldiers, even her father's ship cutting through the storm. She smiled softly. "You came." When Thomas finally reached her, she was standing amid the ruins, glowing softly but looking exhausted. "Nira," he shouted, running toward her. Her eyes flickered, half human, half celestial. "I tried to stop them," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." He grabbed her shoulders. "You didn't do anything wrong, kid. We're leaving, now." But before they could move, a deep voice echoed through the storm. "No one leaves Zone 9. A shadow appeared through the light. Commander Serath, her armor cracked but her eyes burning with fury. She pointed her blade at Nira. "The Queen's curse belongs to us." Thomas pulled Nira behind him, his blaster aimed high. "You'll have to go through me first." The wind roared, lightning split the sky, and for the first time father and daughter stood together, not as fugitives, but as warriors. The storm screamed above Zone 9, tearing open the sky as if the planet itself wanted to die. The air burned with blue fire, and in the middle of it stood Thomas Hale, a human soldier with gray in his hair, his coat torn by wind and ash. In front of him, his ship's light flickered weakly, and beside him stood the girl he had crossed half the galaxy to save, Nira. But she didn't look like the child he remembered. Her eyes shone like small suns. Blue veins pulsed under her skin. Energy crackled around her body, making the ground shake with every heartbeat. "Stay behind me," Thomas said quietly. His rifle trembled slightly in his hands, not from fear, but from the sight of what she had become. Through the smoke, a tall figure appeared, Commander Serath. Her armor was burned, her face pale and cold. She raised a long energy blade that glowed red in the stormlight. "Give her to me," Serath shouted. "You can't stop what she is." Thomas stood firm. "She's my daughter. You'll have to kill me first." Serath smiled thinly. "Gladly." The commander moved faster than human eyes could see. Her blade slashed across the air, cutting a trail of light. Thomas dove aside, firing his rifle. The plasma shot sparked against her armor but didn't break through. He rolled to his feet, breathing hard. "Nira, run!" But Nira didn't move. Her glowing eyes followed Serath, calm yet full of pain. "Stop," she whispered. The wind paused. Even the lightning seemed to hesitate. Then Serath's armor cracked. A pulse of blue light burst from Nira's body, throwing the commander back through the air like a rag doll. She hit the ground hard, her armor shattered. Thomas turned to Nira, shocked. What did you do?" Her voice trembled. "I didn't mean to, it just happened." The glow in her eyes grew brighter. The metal around them began to melt. Machines screamed, walls bent, and the air thickened with heat. Thomas took a step toward her. "Nira, listen to me. You need to stop." She backed away. "I can't. It's inside me, it's too much." He could see the terror in her face, the same terror he had seen in the eyes of soldiers who lost control of their weapons. Only this weapon was alive. Thomas dropped his rifle and reached out his hands slowly. "It's okay, kid. I'm here." "You're safe," her voice broke. "No, I'm not safe. I'm a monster." He shook his head. "No, you're my daughter." The words hit her harder than the storm. For a second, the blue light dimmed and she looked at him like a scared little girl again. But then the ground split open beneath them, and a new voice echoed from the sky. A voice ancient and cold. "Nira, my child, enough." They both looked up. A massive ship broke through the clouds, its hull shimmering like silver fire. The Nyrene Queen had arrived. The ship's light washed over the ruins. Hundreds of drones descended, forming a circle around Nira. The Queen's voice filled the air. "You have brought shame to our name, my daughter. You are not meant to live between worlds." Thomas shouted into the storm. "You left her to die. You called her ugly because she wasn't like you." "She was never meant to be human," the Queen replied coldly. "She is power unbalanced. Her heart is the key that can destroy both our worlds." Nira clutched her chest. Pain ran through her body as her energy flared again. "Mother, please." "I didn't ask for this." The Queen's voice softened, but only slightly. "Then let me end your suffering." The drones raised their weapons. Thomas stepped in front of Nira, spreading his arms wide. "You'll have to kill me first," the Queen hesitated. For the first time she seemed unsure. "You would die for her? A creature not even of your kind." Thomas looked back at Nira and smiled sadly. "She's the only family I've got left. And she's more human than half the galaxy." The Queen fell silent. The wind carried nothing but the sound of Nira's quiet sobs. Then something changed in her. Nira straightened her back, her tears glowing in the light. "No more running," she said softly. Thomas looked at her, worried. "Nira, don't," but she raised her hands to the sky. "If my power hurts people, then I'll use it to protect them." Her entire body lit up brighter than any sun. The ground shook, the air filled with thunder. The drones around her exploded in blue fire. The Queen's ship began to lose control, alarms screaming through the comms. Thomas tried to reach her, but the energy pushed him back. "Nira, stop! You'll burn yourself out." She smiled weakly through the light. "Thank you, Father, for showing me what love is." Then the light consumed everything. When Thomas woke, the storm was gone. The sky above Zone 9 was clear for the first time in centuries. The air was calm, the prison reduced to dust. He looked around. "Nira?" No answer. He searched through the ruins until he found something, a small crystal glowing faintly blue, warm to the touch. Inside it, he saw her reflection, smiling. He closed his hand around it. "You're not gone," he whispered. "You're still with me." Above, the stars shimmered gently, as if listening, and somewhere far beyond them, a faint whisper echoed in his mind. "I'm not a monster, Father. I'm your daughter." The morning after the storm was silent. For the first time in centuries, Zone 9 was calm. No lightning, no wind. Only the sound of dust falling softly like snow. The once dark sky was clear and golden. It looked almost peaceful, like the world itself was breathing again after a long nightmare. Captain Thomas Hale stood alone in the ruins, holding a small blue crystal close to his heart. The light inside it flickered gently, like the heartbeat of someone sleeping. He whispered, "You're still here, aren't you, Nira?" The crystal warmed in his hand, answering without words. He smiled faintly, tears in his tired eyes. "You kept your promise, kid. You saved them all." Far above, in the remains of the Nerine Queen's great ship, silence ruled. The once mighty vessel floated crippled, its silver armor scorched black by Nira's final blast. Inside the royal chamber, the Queen knelt beside the shattered control core, staring at the blue flames flickering across the deck. For the first time in her long reign, she looked afraid. She remembered her daughter's last words. "If my power hurts people, then I'll use it to protect them." Now that power had not only destroyed her army, but also healed the dying planet below. "She saved your world, Mother," a voice whispered. The Queen turned sharply. A holographic light shimmered before her, taking the soft shape of Nira. "You are gone," the Queen said softly, almost to herself. Nira smiled, her eyes gentle and bright. "Not gone, changed." "Why?" The Queen's voice broke. "Why save those who called you cursed?" Nira's voice was calm. "Because Father taught me that love isn't about who deserves it. It's about who needs it." Then the light faded, leaving the Queen in silence. She bowed her head for the first time in grief and in shame. Back on the surface, Thomas worked to repair his ship. The Valiant Star was cracked, but still alive, like him. As he fixed the hull, he kept talking softly to the crystal. "You know," he said, "when I first met you, I thought you were trouble. Turns out you were the best thing that ever happened to me." The wind blew gently across the barren land, carrying small blue sparks that danced like fireflies. He looked up. "You're watching, aren't you?" The sparks gathered, forming a faint glowing shape, a small girl with dark eyes and a warm smile. It was Nira. Thomas froze. "Nira?" Her voice echoed softly. "You kept your promise, Father." He stepped closer, afraid she would vanish. "I thought I lost you." "You can't lose love," she said with a small laugh. "It always finds a way back." He smiled through tears. "Where are you now?" She looked toward the horizon. "Everywhere. I became part of the energy that holds this galaxy together. The storms, the stars, even the wind that touches your face." He reached out as if to touch her, but his hand passed through light. "I wish I could hold you one last time." Her glow flickered. "You already did. Every time you believed in me." Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the distance, a group of Nerine survivors walking toward the crash site. They carried white flags, not weapons. Their leader bowed deeply to Thomas. "Human," the alien said in a trembling voice, "our Queen sent us. She wishes to make peace. Thomas blinked in surprise. Peace? The alien nodded. Your daughter showed us mercy. We want to learn from her. And from you. Thomas looked at Nira's fading light. You did it, kid, he whispered. You ended a war I didn't even start. Her voice was soft. Now you'll help them finish it. With kindness. Weeks later, the world of Zone 9 became something new. Humans and Nirene worked together, rebuilding the colonies side by side. The once cursed world turned green again. Blue flowers, Nira's color, grew across the plains. People began to call them the Daughters Bloom. Thomas stayed there, teaching both species how to farm, how to repair, and how to forgive. Every morning he would look up at the sky and see faint blue trails among the clouds. He would smile and whisper, "Good morning, kid." And every night before he slept, the crystal beside his bed would glow softly, as if answering, "Good night, Father." Years passed. The stories of the ugly alien princess became legend, but those who knew the truth remembered her not for her strange face, but for her heart, the heart that saved two worlds. One evening, an old Thomas sat under a tree, watching the sun set. He could feel his time coming to an end. The wind brushed through his hair, carrying a familiar hum, a song Nira used to sing. He smiled faintly. "You're here, aren't you?" A soft blue light surrounded him, and for a moment, he saw her again, smiling, glowing, holding out her small hand. "Come with me, Father," she said. "It's time to go home." He stood, took her hand, and the two lights rose together into the sky, fading into the stars. Epilogue. Years later, when children looked at the night sky from Eden 4, they pointed at two bright stars shining side by side. Their parents would tell them, "That's the captain and the alien princess, the father who loved beyond worlds and the daughter who saved them all," and the stars would twinkle, as if they were still listening. Together, forever.